All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And the hot topic right now is who is going to be the starting quarterback for Utah when we open the season against Florida at home at Rice Eccles. Who is it going to be? We're going to talk about it. We're going to say how it's looking right now, what the different options are, and kind of I'll give you guys my best information and details about those options and the ability and the effectiveness of those options if they do wind up hitting the field. I know that's a little ambiguous, but we'll dive into it with more detail here in a second. Before we do, though, please make sure you guys like the video. I'm also sure a ton of you guys have like opinions of what's going on with the QB situation right now for Utah. Please feel free to drop those in the comments below. And make sure if you are a Utah fan, Pac-12 fan, Big 12 fan, whatever, if your team plays Utah or you're a Utah fan, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I put out a lot of content and a lot of people seem to enjoy it. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk some Utah quarterbacks. Okay, and where is all the QB talk coming from for the Florida game? Now, I'm sure you guys, if you're on Twitter, if you're anywhere, you guys have seen a lot of QB talk. So it seems to have all started from an interview that Kyle Whittingham did last week, where he talked about the current QB situation. So the first big thing that Kyle Whittingham said is that Cam Rising is 50-50. Now, I do want to preface this next part by saying that Cam Rising has made it very clear at every opportunity he can that he will be starting, right? That he will be the guy. I feel like anytime he's been asked, whether he said it directly or hinted at it, he has made us pretty damn confident that he will be out there against Florida. But Kyle Whittingham said 50-50. Kyle Whittingham keeps everything under wraps. So I'd say when you hear 50-50 on Cam Rising started, it's more like 85 or 90 to 10 or 15. Like that just means Kyle Whittingham doesn't want Florida to have any edge and wants to make sure that they are guessing going into the game on whether or not it's going to be Cam that they're playing. So that just to touch on that, right? I'd say there's a very good shot Cam's in there. If Cam can be in there, Cam is the guy I want head and shoulders above everyone else. He is proven, he is a playmaker, and he is just a guy that if you have the opportunity to have him on your team, he's the guy you want. There's probably only a handful of quarterbacks that people would say you may want over Cam Rising on any given Saturday. But in my book, it is Cam Rising. He is the guy. I don't think there's one quarterback in the country, and I really mean this, that I could honestly say, I mean, there's guys I would want equally to Cam, but it's like there's no one I could say I would want more than Cam. And I really mean that. He is a playmaker. He is a beast. If he can come out there, even at 85, 90%, he is better than all the other options that Utah has. So that's Cam Rising. We got it. That'll be played by ear, but definitely Cam Rising is the best option if available. So later on in that interview, Kyle Whittingham went on to say this about Brandon Rose. He's just making less mistakes. He knows the offense better than the other two. He's a little more consistent, a little more steady. The other guys have bright futures, can make some spectacular plays here and there, but it's all about taking care of the ball and moving the chains. So that is an awesome thing for Brandon Rose that Kyle Whittingham is, and this isn't the first time. And if you guys are aware, Brandon Rose came out in spring ball and looked awesome, right? Brandon Rose came out there slicing and dicing and really impressed me. I was not on the Brandon Rose train until I saw spring, and I was like, okay, damn, this kid's making just making it look easy, making I wrote that in my notes when I was at the spring game. I said, making the easy stuff look easy. That's what great quarterbacks do. So, unfortunately, the other day, Brandon Rose had a very serious injury, which is leading us to believe that he absolutely will not be available for Florida. Hope he's all right. Hope he's okay. Right. So Brandon Rose seems to be unavailable. It was something serious. He took a hit or something in practice, and it's pretty serious. My thoughts are definitely with Brandon Rose and his family. I'm not just trying to brush over that. But then we got to talk about the other options. So the first one I want to look at, because I think that quote is intriguing, right? The next guy I want to look at is Bryson Barnes. Bryson Barnes is awesome, and I think he would be a starter on a good handful of college football teams. I mean, he's a good quarterback. If you guys have watched him, I think he's good, and I think he's like a serviceable guy. Like very, very good floor, not the greatest ceiling in the world, but very good floor. You're going to get a solid player from him. The issue with Bryson Barnes is, does he make the plays when it all breaks down? If it all goes to crap on any given play, is Bryson Barnes going to be able to make something spectacular happen? Now, I think he can most of the time, but like I touched on earlier, Florida is going to have super, super athletic players out there. Now, that doesn't mean they're a better team than us, but they will have guys that I would just describe as play wreckers, right? And when you have play wreckers on the field, you need playmakers, not guys that are just going through it, right? And then not that Bryson's going through it, but I mean, like, he's more of a system quarterback than anything. He's a balanced guy. He's somewhat athletic. I would say pretty athletic, but he's not a great athlete, nor is he a great passer. He's pretty decent at both. That's how I describe him. And I'd say lean more towards being a good athlete than a great passer. So, but I want to talk about this with Bryson Barnes. Let's just read this quote one more time. This is referring to Brandon Rose, that he's just making less mistakes. He knows the offense better than the other two. That's a little intriguing to me. Am I the only one? I've noticed no one seems to be talking about this. Brandon Rose understands the offense better than Bryson Barnes. I almost feel like that was a low-key shot at Bryson Barnes. Like, how have you been here for multiple years longer than Brandon Rose, and Brandon Rose understands the offense better than you? I almost feel like that was a challenge by Kyle Whittingham towards Bryson Barnes, saying, hey, like, how does this guy that's only been here a year understand the offense more than my bona fide backup, like the guy? That's what I would say. Just as much as Cam has been the guy at starting quarterback, Bryson Barnes has been the guy at backup. I find it odd that all of a sudden the position's in question. To me, Bryson should be the clear backup. I really got to question what's going on there behind the scenes. To me, Bryson doesn't seem like a guy that would have a lot of attitude problems or anything like that, or who knows what's going on behind the scenes. But, you know, definitely something to look at there. Bryson Barnes has been an awesome guy, did great work in the time that he got for Utah over the past couple seasons. He came into that Washington State game last year, looked awesome, helped us get a win there. So really odd there. Then the final option is Nate Johnson. So Nate Johnson is an athletic freak. Nate Johnson he's like, I forget what his 100-meter dash time was, but it was like a 10 something. It was really fast. It was crazy fast. And Nate Johnson's a super athlete. And at times last year, I felt like every time he came in, it was in very limited quantities. Like he didn't do a ton of plays, but when he did get opportunities, he made the most of them. And I'd say he looked pretty damn awesome when he was in last year. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he's understanding the offense as much as Brandon Rose is. And it seems like Nate's these are just the signals I'm getting. Don't think I'm making any statements against Nate Johnson. I'm not at practice every day. This is what I'm reading into. It seems that Nate Johnson is relying too much on his playmaking ability and not enough on his ability to read defenses. And where I do think I have some factual information to back that up is the spring game, right? If you guys were at the spring game like me, Nate Johnson's performance was not good. Now, I would say we can't take that as like the end all be all, because the spring game was a small sample size, and we saw him in real live reps look pretty damn good last season. Just like we're Brandon Rose, we can't take the spring game as the end all be all, but Brandon Rose had a lot of hype going into spring ball from Kyle Whittingham, and then kind of, looked really good in spring ball. So kind of double whammy there. But Nate Johnson, a guy super athletic, and a guy that if he can figure it all out, the ceiling's super high. I remember when Nate Johnson signed with Utah, he was one of my early recruiting videos I made. And oh man, the tape is spectacular. What Nate Johnson can be is something very special. So I hope he figures it out. But kind of in conclusion, I'm just going to give you guys my thoughts and tell you where I think this is going to go. It seems like Brandon Rose out. I think more than anything, Cam Rising will come in and play against Florida, which I think is awesome. I'm sure his mobility will be slightly limited due to the fact that he had an ACL injury and he's still recovering. I doubt he's 100. I bet he's good enough to be effective, be a playmaker, but he will not be as explosive and as confident in his ability to cut as usual. This is going to be really like he hasn't even been cleared to practice yet. He might get a good weekend of practice before he actually sees the field against Florida. I mean, these are just real things we got to look at. I don't think we're going to see some hobbled old man. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying Cam is a playmaker with his feet. I don't know if we'll get the same playmaking ability from Cam in the game. I do think Cam will be the starter. Now on the chance, and it's a real chance that Cam is not going to play due to the fact that Brandon Rose is injured, I think we're going to see Bryson Barnes. Now, Nate Johnson has a ton of upside, and he's a guy that I would really like to see start for Utah one day and be as awesome as I think he could be. But I think after what I saw in spring ball at the spring game, and then after what the notes I'm reading into that Kyle's giving to the media, I think Bryson Barnes is a safe choice. I find it a little odd though that I really think there might be an underlying call out of Brandon Barnes from Kyle Whittingham. Seriously, guys, like he's saying Brandon Rose knows the offense better than Bryson Barnes. Isn't that odd to you guys? How would that even be a thing? Like multiple years in this offense for Bryson Barnes, and not just multiple years in the offense, but multiple years in coming in. And don't forget, this guy threw a touchdown pass against Ohio State. And then he also won us the game against Washington State. I mean, this isn't just some random guy. I mean, and I think so. If for some reason Cam is out, Bryson Barnes is the guy that's going to get the job. I'd be really surprised if that's not the case. And I hope Brandon Rose is okay. Sad to hear he's injured, man. That's definitely not what you want to hear. So, outside of that, guys, make sure you guys like the video. Also, comment down below. What are your thoughts on the QB situation? I really would love to hear it. I know I've been kind of just digging through to get any information I can. So, if you guys have anything else, feel free to drop it in the comments. And I want to hear your opinions. I'm sure there's a lot of opinions out there on who should be the guy. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. If you guys love Utah football, seriously, bunch of you guys watch my channel all the time and are not subscribed yet. If you guys love Utah football and love this type of conversation, like where else are you getting conversations about deep dives into who would be the backup quarterback if Cam isn't ready, right? So that's just us Utah football nerds talking about it. So outside of that, make sure you guys subscribe. I'm out of here and go Utes.